Sylvanian Families is a toy line loved worldwide, with releases in multiple countries, with the most impact in Japan, the US, and the UK. Despite this, most people who play with these toys have no idea about its complex and interesting history. Going into research for this video, I never expected there to be so much history on the toy line and the company who made them, Epoch. So, let's get into the story of Sylvanian Families.
Sylvanian families, a little world of love, that's all made of Sylvanian families. Caring for each other, getting ready on a special day.
Sister, brother, dad, and mother.
Sylvanian families, each sold separately. Sylvanian families, you're the one for me.
Sylvanian Families originated in Japan in 1985 and came to the UK in 1987. About 100 million Sylvanian Families figures total have been sold worldwide. You might be curious about what Sylvan means. Unfortunately, I have an answer. The word Sylvan means of the forest, and this goes with the three values the brand chooses to represent the toy line. These values are nature, love, and family. I also think it's important to address why the toys are called Calico critters in America and Canada. Tomy, the company who had been distributing the toys worldwide, lost the rights to the name Sylvanian Families in 1989. They had also gone bankrupt at this time. They re-entered the market in 1993 using the name Calico Critters of Cloverleaf Corners, now just simply called Calico Critters. Speaking of names, upon the initial release of the toys in Japan, the toy line had a much longer name, which I will now read out to you. Pleasant Friends of the Forest Epoch System Collection Animal Toy Sylvanian Families. I guess this sounds more normal in Japanese, I have no idea. Production of the toys started in October 1983 and ended in October 1984. Sales of the toys began in Japan on March 20th, 1985. They were produced by the company Epoch, and the idea for the toys was created by Mitsuo Matsumoto, the second president of Epoch at the time, and several employees. Until then, Epoch had not produced or sold toys marketed to girls. The idea for the toys was very unique at the time, and it still is now in my opinion. The toy line puts a spin on the classic dollhouse idea, like Barbie or Bratz, but rather than humans, the dolls are anthropomorphic animals. In Japan, the dolls aren't given names because the owner is supposed to give it its own name and story, but this is not the case in America and Europe, where all the dolls are given names. In Japan, the only named dolls are the Chocolate Rabbit family, in which the daughter's name is Freya Chocolate. Most of the TV shows and movies about Sylvanian families follow the Chocolate Rabbit family, with Freya as the main character. The dolls are made using flocked plastic, which gives it the velvety, soft texture. The dollhouses were originally made using wood and ceramics, but nowadays they use mostly plastic. The setting that the dolls live in is called Sylvania, a fictional country based off of Great Britain in the US in the 1950s. There are about 3 different areas expanded upon in the toy line: Sylvanian Village, localized to Calico Village in the US, the town, and Seabreeze Cape. Despite the fact that Sylvanian Families is one of the only toys on the market that uses these kind of anthropomorphic animal dolls, when they first started out they had some competition. Around the year 1989, other similar products appeared by other companies, and these animal dolls were no longer a unique thing. After this, a lot of companies stopped producing similar products. In 1990, sales fell 10% from their peak in 1987. However, due to putting efforts into their fan club and doing more promotional materials, sales recovered steadily and let Sylvanian Families survive in the toy market. One of these toy lines, Teddy Bear Story, which was produced by Sekiguchi in September 1983, was already gaining popularity at the time, and the product was quite similar to Sylvanian Families. However, Sylvanian Families was more accessible than Teddy Bear Story, so it became more popular. Teddy Bear Story also released in the US, Sweden, and England. However, as far as I can see, it didn't become that popular. Epoch is the company that makes Sylvanian Families, but this isn't the only toy they've done. Before Sylvanian Families, Epoch was known for making the Doraemon video games, among various video game consoles. They also made Japan's first successful programmable video game system, the Cassette Vision. Oh, and they also made Aquabeads. Sylvanian Families has more video games than you might think. Unfortunately, Epoch hasn't released one in many years, and I doubt they will, but realistically I could see a game coming to the Nintendo Switch or something. The first game released was Sylvanian Families Fairyland Pendant, released in 1999 on the Game Boy Color. It is an adventure game where you play as a rabbit girl who goes to Fairyland to return a pendant to some fairies. This game is actually available if you look it up. The second game released is Sylvanian Melody Let's Dance with the Forest Friends, released in 2000 on the Game Boy Color. Apparently it's a kind of rhythm action game in which you play as a rabbit girl collecting cotton seeds dropped by fairies. It's the only game not connected to the main series. The third game released is Sylvanian Families 2 Colored Forest Fantasy, released in 2000 on the Game Boy Color. It's an adventure game where you play as a rabbit girl and bring back the color that disappeared from a fairyland. The fourth game released is Sylvanian Families 3 Starry Night Sky, released in 2001 on the Game Boy Color. It's an adventure game in which you play as a cat girl and travel back and forth between the past and the present with your forest friends to bring back the shining stars that disappeared from Sylvania Village. The fifth game released was Sylvanian Families 4 Tapestry of the Seasons, released in 2002 on the Game Boy Advance. It's an adventure game in which you play as a rabbit girl and help a fairy change the seasons by collecting dream fruits in order to restore the seasons that have stopped changing. The sixth game released was Sylvanian Families Fairy Cane and Wonder Tree Marin Dog Girl, released in 2003 on the Game Boy Advance. It's an adventure game where you play as a dog girl and go looking for the walking stick that her fairy friend lost. The seventh and last game released was Sylvanian Families I Want to Be a Fashion Designer Walnut Squirrel Girl. It's a simulation game in which you play as a squirrel girl who becomes a fashion designer and makes clothes and accessories requested by the residents of Sylvania Village. The description of this game reminds me of Style Savvy with the Sylvanian Families theme, and also all of these video games were made by Epoch. There are multiple stores and theme attractions, mostly in Japan, and there used to be some events. I think it's impossible for me to cover everything, so I will talk in depth about the most popular ones I could find information about online. In 2020, a theme park recreating Sylvania Village in Osaka was opened, and it includes life-size recreations of the playsets and dolls. It was open to the public on the anniversary of Sylvanian Family's release, March 20. This is one of the more popular attractions today. There are a bunch of videos on TikTok of people visiting this attraction, and it honestly looks pretty cute. I would love to go there. In 1992, an independent Sylvanian Family store opened in London. This store was unique to others due to being the only overseas store that was independent, and before the store closed in 2023, many people from around the world went to the store because there's nothing else like it. Its success is attributed to the success of the brand itself. It's popular because of how old-fashioned and classic it is, contrasting with the world around us and the other popular toys at the time. Unfortunately, the store had to close earlier 2023 in April, because the owners wanted to retire and many other independent toy stores in the area began to close as well. Sylvania Mori no Kitchen is a Sylvanian-themed kids restaurant in Koshigaya. You can order Sylvanian-themed foods, get a birthday dessert meal, have your meal with a large baby doll, and buy certain things like apron-wearing dolls and Sylvanian Families-themed drink coasters. There seems to be a lot to do with this restaurant, and honestly it looks pretty adorable. There were actual multiple different Sylvanian-themed restaurants under the same name since 1999. Some were full-fledged stores and others were included during events or themed attractions. In the years 2001 and 2002, there were two full-scale convention-type events held in the Shinagawa Prince Hotel. The first event had around 30,000 attendees, and the second had around 27,000. After the second one, they didn't hold any events like this anymore. The Sylvania Forest Market is a type of store in Japan that exclusively sells Sylvanian Families toys. At its peak, it had about 45 stores open. You can purchase limited edition products and re-imported products from Europe and the UK here. Sometimes they also hold many events in these stores as well. There were also a few musicals that were produced and shown throughout Japan in 2005 and another from the years 2010 to 2015. In 1985, Epoch created a stop-motion animation work to promote Sylvanian Families overseas. It was created and produced in 1985, but it wasn't released until 2004. They remastered it using the latest technology, and it was released in Britain on DVD. In the series, there were 4 episodes, each one lasting 10 minutes. In 1987, a TV series/movie named Sylvanian Families the Movie began production, and it was a Japan, US, Europe joint production. It was meant to compete with Mapletown Story, and it was also meant to promote the brand overseas. But due to the complexities of it being a collaborative work, the final product was not necessarily reflecting what Epoch intended. From late 1988 to early 1989, it was aired as a 26-part series on TV stations in the US. The movie was released in a limited number of US theaters in 1987. And actually I believe these movies are on YouTube as well. Though Epoch owned the copyright to the film, DIC Animation owned the rights to distribute, so it's never been released officially in Japan. In 1989, Epoch released a mini-series in the style of a picture story in toy stores. There were 4 volumes released, 4 episodes in each volume. Each volume was about 15 minutes in total. Unfortunately, I don't think this is available anywhere online. In 2007, Epoch teamed up with Itochu Corporation to make a full-scale 3D animated series. The series was broadcast many times on Kids Station and was later released on DVD. Production of the show ran until 2011. In 2017, Sylvanian Families mini-story released and ran until 2020. All the episodes are easily available on YouTube, but every season aired on Japanese TV, and some seasons were available on Netflix and Amazon Prime Video. In 2022, a new series called Sylvanian Families Freya's Happy Diary was released. It was meant to replace Mini Story, and it is made in the same 3D animation style. Each episode is available on YouTube, and it also aired on Japanese TV. I think this series is still ongoing, and the second season was released in 2023. I wrote this script like a long time ago, so some of the information is outdated, but in April 2023, Epoch announced that in the fall, a new Sylvanian Families movie would be released. And the movie follows the main character Freya Chocolate, and the cast for the movie has multiple famous actors. Apparently, the movie released in November 23, 2023, so, yeah. There were also multiple CDs released that include songs from the TV shows, movies, and other songs made exclusively for the CDs. Most of them are out of print and very hard to obtain. Also, I think I mentioned that there was like some kind of musical. I think that they made CDs for those musicals and they released them so the kids could listen to them at home, which is pretty cool. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please talk about Sylvanian Families in the comments. We need to spark some discussion because I don't know if like the Sylvanian Families fandom is dead or something, but like I don't really see people talk about it. It's kind of niche nowadays, I would think. I don't know. But anyway, I used to be obsessed with these when I was younger, and it feels good to finally like make a video on it because I don't really think there are many other videos or like any videos at all talking about the history of Epoch and Sylvanian Families and whatnot. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!